My name is Marcel. I have been working in AI since 2014. Back then, AI was different. There was not really large language models, but there was different types of AI, and the hardware barrier that we had back then was much more than we had now. And I have been working in AI for a long time, and specifically in the last 3 years, I have built about 43 generative AI applications together with companies in the real world. Companies starting from small and mid-sized entities. I've been working with legal firms of all different sizes, of small solution providers until big enterprises, including one of the biggest German banks and one of the biggest automotive suppliers in the world for building generative AI applications in their environmental setting of not in I would say not in isolation, but within the context of their business, and everything that goes behind it. I am the founder of a no-code AI application building platform and engine, but this today is not purely a sales exercise. This is also trying to engage a little bit with the broader community because I just believe that exchanging and working together in this world helps everybody in the end. There's more than enough business in this world that we can all be in the same market and not have any competition issues. That's at least what I believe. If you want to get afterwards in touch with me, this here is my link to my LinkedIn. And I would like to start today talking a little bit about this and what this actually has triggered. ChatGPT is turning 3 years old this year, at the end of this year, and it has triggered quite some disruptive changes in business because not only it introduces large language models. Before we had also large language models, they may not have been so good, but the concept of a large language model has been around since before there was ChatGPT. But what ChatGPT has really done very easily is it made it available through a that simple interface for other people to use. Yeah. So everybody who has ever used Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp or any type of messaging application could also interact with ChatGPT because that's why this interface is very easy to grasp and too easy to get involved in. And that's also what it did for businesses. It triggered a lot of change and a lot of thoughts and a lot of hopes and promises in businesses what you can do with the technology behind. And that was the beginning of all of this ChatGPT hype. I'm not going to give you today an introduction about ChatGPT. I'm pretty sure you all know what I'm talking about here. But this is what we had 2 years ago. In the meantime, this has evolved quite a lot. And that's what we are going to talk today about. I have seen four different stages in the AI journey that typically organizations go through that I would like to talk with you about, and specifically also the learnings that I have seen in these journeys. I would like to talk you about the organizational aspect. Where does AI live? Now you can hear me again? Good. Great. Where in the organization it lives, and what a company you should have as I would say, as a blueprint for a framework for AI, specifically generative AI in the environment. And then I would like to talk about generalized versus specialized solutions. That's a little bit of the outline. I've talked about the ChatGPT moment, that's what I call it, where organizations first got their hands into generative AI so they can try it out, dream, and see potential gains. And in contrast to many different other innovative technologies that I've worked with in a couple of years, like I always compare to blockchain. Blockchain was always a technology looking for a problem in the real world. Yeah, if there's no crypto maxis in here, please don't be offended, but that's my business take on the enterprise side of it. With generative AI, we didn't really have this problem because we always had an abundance of use cases that organizations wanted to try out and go into an exploration phase before. The exploration phase usually includes something like building a proof of concept, and where a lot of organizations that I have worked with have seen very quickly very good results, and also many different projects in parallel, which gave the organization as a whole the challenge that, if you have a company with 1,000 people and everybody builds a little bit in isolation, you would like to bundle or consolidate different efforts into ideally one cohesive strategy that is getting also these maturing use cases and successful proof of concepts out of their proof of concept stage and into production. And that's where actually the need to scale not only the development, but also of POCs, but also of productive apps, operating them and managing them is often a stretch to the capacity, to the skills, but also to quality assurance that often is overlooked in that case. In the first AI wave that I have seen, the first AI wave is everything from ChatGPT going out until kind of last year, I would call it. People mostly played around, get acquainted with the fundamentals of generative AI, found value, and see a lot of, and have also found future potential for the organization. People, and that's very important to understand. I'm talking about organizations, but in the end, an organization is made of people, and people have also found a position regarding AI. So they understood what AI generally will do with their work in their life. They have found a position towards that. And I always speak about augmentation versus replacement versus scalability. In the beginning, for a lot of people who didn't have the knowledge about it, there was a lot of, let's say, a lot of people being scared that AI is eventually going to take their job, which still is out there as some of the fear. But what I always tell people is that, of course, then your job changes. And that means that a business can do more things and other things because they don't have to do the stupid repetitive things and waste the precious time of their employees on it anymore, but can basically just put compared to a human worker, relatively cheap AI on it. That's how I mostly pull the teeth from the people that have issues with or are scared of being replaced. And also some people have positioned themselves as an AI leader versus an AI user versus an AI something. There's a lot of people that I have seen my fair share of initiatives in larger scale enterprises, and you can cluster the people into the different areas what they are. There are some people who just see the opportunity and want to take advantage of it in some way or the other. There's also some people who also want to take this opportunity to advance their career in the organization, which I think is something that is very, very good because it helps in the end everybody. And then there are some people, I would put them more in the laggards category that will not adopt any AI solutions from themselves until they are made to. That goes a little bit into the direction generally of the dissemination of innovation theory. And where we have there, you have your early adopters, you have your innovators, you have an early majority, a late majority, and then you have your laggards. That's nothing else that you see here too. And I first would like to talk a little bit about AI inside the organization. And I have seen three different approaches or three categories of approaches on how organizations as a whole deal with AI. And the centralized versus the decentralized versus the hybrid approach. By the way, if you encounter at any point in time any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I have my eyes on them and I'm trying to go to them as soon as I can. Decentralized AI department. This is now here a prototype. Yeah, it's a prototypical typical illustration of how such a centralized AI department is. It's not the organigram of your specific organization, but it is just a schema of it. Decentralized AI department is usually there to and has a mandate from someone high in the organization to lead AI implementation efforts, either within a department or on the company wide, depends on the size of your company, or in a certain branch, or however you see. That is, from an organizational perspective, quite helpful in the sense that you have a clear responsibility on the lead and you have a coordination and you know what is going on with AI in your organization as a whole. You don't have wild growth of different solutions that are there. Yet these AI departments, decentralized AI departments, have often the problem that they have too much ingress of too many different things of different other departments they are serving or they're enabling to do that they can't do everything. And that's why these centralized AI departments often have started to build or purchase generalized solutions. The generalized solution is the your company chatbot for everything, which often is just a product like Microsoft Copilot or other enterprise products that you have in that sense. Because with that, you can literally just tell the people, hey, here's a chatbot. It runs in our compliant environment, in our Microsoft Azure subscription, in our whatever has been signed off in terms of policies. You can use it. Go ahead, do it. Please don't use your own personal accounts and not the ChatGPT free account, because specifically for the ChatGPT free accounts, the OpenAI says they will just use our data to train. In the enterprise, we don't have that, so we don't want our secrets to be there. Just use that. That was how often these generative AI departments that act as a centralized hub for that have started, which also means that they have a prioritization problem because often just telling people here's a chatbot, now go do your stuff yourself, is for the actual interesting use cases not enough. And so there is a prioritization challenge that you have to go through which of the use cases are actually impactful. Then you have different departments, you have limited resources, and this whole priority discussion comes with it. On the other hand, there's the exact opposite, which is the decentralized AI approach, where you have usually different, I call them AI champions in different departments of an organization that work independently, that do work with their own solutions, have a different tooling stack, which and usually these type of solutions are very focused on the specific pain points that the people in that department have. Yeah, there might be someone saying, okay, I have ChatGPT and I have a set of prompts for that specific problem. I'm sharing these prompts with my colleagues so that we can all make better. The other one might build an AI automation with a certain tool stack they are familiar with, or an agent application. And then you have basically a whole decentralized mesh of different AI solutions that all, let's say, are loosely grouped under your organization. I call this sometimes a wild growth. It has, of course, the benefit that there's low overhead and then there's more agency because employees usually, or your colleagues, are usually focusing on these problems that they actually have in their day-to-day life and not something they are making up because there's a tool and you can use the tool for something. Yeah. So if you usually tell people to find solutions for themselves, they usually find problems that first are actually impactful, a pain for them, and B, they're striving towards solutions that actually help them with their problem. And that's very good because it gets, let's say, I would say the time to production quite a little bit down. Yet, on the other hand, you have compliance and oversight challenges because you don't have a single point of control. And you might have cost inefficiency because people might purchase the same solution at different points in the organization. So there might be Department A who has a ChatGPT subscription and Department B who could have a ChatGPT subscription and C2. And if you would bundle them, there might be also cost efficiencies that you could reach. And then there's the hybrid approach, and that's where we have a centralized department for oversight, but we have also in the organizations different AI champions. These AI champions need to get education, of course, get upskilling in that area, and also need to have, let's say, an open line of communication with the AI department. But in the end, the idea behind that is that the people that are the AI champions in the different departments are much closer to the actual business processes in these departments, the pain points and the potential use cases, than a overgeneralized AI department that just does everything by themselves. Yeah, with being very far away. That is the benefit of having clear responsibilities. Cost effectiveness is very fast. You still have the agency, and you are building something that is more targeted. Has also downsides, might come to conflicts of different departments competing, of different people competing with different competencies in here, and conflicting motives. Yeah. So if you have too many people who are trying at the same point in time to be the AI person in the whole organization, there's a certain situation that results from it. I let you to be the judge if that is desirable or not, depending on what you are used to. So that's the organizational approach. Yeah. And I've seen different flavors of all three of these approaches in the industry in the last couple of years in the project I've been involved. Let's now talk not about the organization itself, but what it actually is, where an AI application can operate. I call these AI applications AI-powered applications. So an AI-powered application might be an agent, it might be an automation that has AI, it might be something that at some point in time integrates AI into an existing solution. Yeah. For a company, because there's also external factors like compliance, there is important to create a AI framework, not a technical framework, but a conceptual framework. A technical framework might be apart from it to give basically as guidelines and as guardrails for everybody who is working on AI within an organization. I get often contracted for organizations to build these AI frameworks or to conceptualize these AI frameworks as an yeah as a consultant after talking to them. And what you see here is basically my overgeneralization of that. So there is a frame that is clearly acting as a boundary of our AI applications. That on the one hand is organization and governance. The organizational setup is one part of that we have already talked about. There's ethics, there is compliance and regulation internally and externally, and there's also a quality and risk aspect to it. The quality and risk aspect is something that many users or first-time users underestimate completely, I have to say, which is problematic because you know how AI models are. There is never mind how good your model is, never mind how good your application is, there's still a chance of hallucinations, of not getting the things that you want. And that's why we need a monitoring and evaluation framework on the quality, but also on costs and adoption, on impact and on improvements that helps to support our applications, our development, and also our adjustment of the technologies in our technology framework that we are using. Yeah, technology framework. I mean, here at that case, are we saying, okay, we are a Microsoft house, we'll just purchase whatever Microsoft gives us, and we work with whatever that is. Is there other ways of orchestration? Are you using, I don't know, Llama Index or LangChain? Are you using a third-party framework? Are you building everything from scratch, or are you using no-code solutions like the solution that I'm providing? That's part of the technology framework based on which all of the applications that you have there are built. I'm going to talk now about our build. We're coming now to the initial discussion that James and me had very briefly before we started the main part of the session, is generalized versus specialized solutions. And generalized solutions are basically solutions that are generally available for many, many use cases. Often your company chatbot on Microsoft Copilot, ChatGPT, but also AI features that are built into your existing standard applications that you use regarding, so, you know, all of the email clients there can now do AI summarization and so on. And these generalized solutions are right now pushed by hyperscalers. And I have seen that when working with Microsoft and with Microsoft partners. I'm a Microsoft partner myself because there's so much business in this case. Most of the people that are trying to sell you something are trying to sell you generalized solutions because there's so much business to be done, and that's just something where you can get in rather easy. Yeah. My company GPT, my company chatbot, however you want to call it, is the best example of that. On the other hand, there's very specialized solutions. So specific solutions for a very specific business process that you have that requires more advanced orchestrations, often multi-step interactions with different models. And often the here's a chatbot and prompt it yourself is not helping in that case. And but there's a lot of value in these type of use cases. When I put that on a map, generalized solutions, you know, chatbots, company GPTs, AI, standard AI features for emails, they would be on the spectrum from generalized to specialized on the left side. The special examples for these specialized solutions, like I'm working, for example, with banks and with real estate appraisers that are writing real estate appraisals here in Europe, which is actually the core business process for them and for of the product that they are selling. And therefore, you need something that is very specialized and fine-tuned because it's a core value that they are providing to the customer. With in contrast to an AI summarization of an email. An AI summarization of an email is not a core business process. That's a supporting business process for whatever it is that your company is doing, but it's not the core business process. And the more you go there on the right side, the more you need these type of specialized solutions. And then we have somewhere in the middle where you have specialized, semi-specialized solutions, for example, for very different types of reports, for accounting, for analysis, for research that are there. And there is two lines it is that we have here. So the more specialized your solution is, the less use cases you have, right? If you have a specialized solution that helps you write real estate appraisals, that's one use case for it. It's real estate appraisals. Yeah. So you don't have a lot of use cases in terms of diversity of use cases. On the other hand, with a chatbot, a company GPT, you can do anything. But the impact of these solutions, of the individual solutions, they get higher the more specialized your solution is. So, of course, when you have a very specialized solution that helps you write your real estate appraisals, the impact of that is humongous because it's the core business process that, in this case, this was my customer sells. Yeah. And if you find these use cases where you find a good AI use case, the impact of that can be quite substantial. Yeah. And that's my learning. If you are, for example, an AI hub, an AI department within an organization, and you have all of these agents and all of these things behind you, look for the generalized solutions as in the early stages, so that you have something that you can give to everybody when you don't have the capacity to look into a specialized solutions. That's what you do in the early stages. But when it comes to the real value and to the real level of what you want to look for, you have to get more into these specialized solutions. And that is basically what I do in my day-to-day life. So I have a team of about 10 people here in Germany where we have built a platform called entAIngine, which is an enterprise AI process engine that lets you basically, with a no-code interface, define business processes with AI. And we are not exclusively, let's say, tied to the golden cage of a specific supplier. We use all different types of models from OpenAI through Microsoft Azure or others, but also Mistral, Llama, Gemini from Google, because we have seen over the last couple of years there are certain models that are better at certain tasks or not. Gemini is very good at writing long, cohesive text. Yeah. On the other hand, something like GPT-4 or Mini is very good at being precise and doing exactly what you told it when you have like formatting issues. So I don't see that we are going to a place that where we have started, where there's basically one model to rule them all. Yeah, with ChatGPT and everything else, or with GPT back then it was 3.5 and everything else being irrelevant. We are right now working in a multipolar LLM world where you have different models that are very good for different use cases, and you need to look what you're using for what. Retrieval augmented generation and fine tuning is always also something that is part of that. There's sometimes requirements for on-premise or sometimes in the cloud. What I am a big advocate for is it is as low code as possible. Sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't, depending on also the people that you're doing with. And yeah, we are working usually with existing AI departments of organizations that are out there. Let me quickly show you how entAIngine is looking like. That you just have just a very quick overview that you can imagine a little bit more. If you want a deep dive, I can help you, of course. That is not necessarily needed. But how the platform works is you have different applications, and these different applications have different processes. And these processes can be defined as templates that you can reuse many, many different times in different scenarios. And they have drag and drop things so that you can have here, for example, use different AI models. And we have, I think, 60 or so in here where you can try out and test and build workflows that use for different steps, different models. And these workflows can get, in some cases, rather complex. That's something that I would like to just make you aware of, that we're not forgetting about that. that these processes can get really complex, because here this is one process where each of these processes is one call either to a large language model or to a deep research model like Perplexity. Big fan of Perplexity, by the way, not affiliated with them, but just great. And then you combine the different outputs of the different steps into your one answer. And this is exactly the way of thinking that you need when you want to build really good specialized solutions. But yeah, that's just as an example. There's a huge platform behind it that we deploy on premise or on the cloud. There's templating, there's auto-generated applications, we have process applications, we have also chat applications, we have search applications, and we have also document creation applications that are all on the same platform. How that platform looks like, and that's why I'm showing here the architecture of my platform a little bit, because the last topic that we're talking today about, if you are or if you are tasked with building an AI hub in a larger company, where you are basically being mandated to enable others to build AI applications. This architecture here that has changed a lot over time is something that I have found very, very helpful in what it is that also you can copy for your own AI hub or just purchase from me if you want to. You have the front-end applications. That's all what the users are facing. That might be a chat application, that might be some different other type of form-based application. And what we have the no-code interface where you can actually build these applications. We have in our backend, if you are familiar with business process management and with business process engines, this will be very, let's say, very familiar to you. We have here basically a template repository where we have all these process templates that we are storing, and that we can just take them. And when we are executing them, we are putting them in our orchestration engine. And our orchestration engine is basically the glue that connects different AI models, different pieces of data via retrieval augmented generation, and different external data sources with an API connector all together to one single orchestration. And what you might be interested in here too is what I call the AI model connection hub. So depending on also the strategy of your company, if you're working with one supplier exclusively or not, I recommend to have here a single interface with which you can interact then through to all of the models. We have, for example, models that we are taking directly from OpenAI, some that we are taking from the Microsoft OpenAI services, some with the Azure AI Foundry. We have models from Google or through open source model from Deep Infra. Deep Infra is a model provider where you don't have to host the open source models yourself, but you can just get them also hosted in their infrastructure. We're also using Perplexity, and we always have the possibility to connect other models for specific projects that our customers, for example, have. And that you are not building a system completely in the isolation. It's important to see that there's also connection to existing systems. And we build quite easy API connectors where you can either in a Lambda function put in whatever logic you want to have, or with a standard API connector, just connect to your existing APIs. And that's what we have seen very helpful. So this notion of an AI model connection hub is very helpful. And that thing of having an AI platform that powers many, many different types of applications, it's basically my business that I do right now, is also helping you to not have a wild growth of things that is completely unmanageable. Every organization is quite different because everybody has a little bit of a different AI framework. So there might be different flavors of that you may see or not. But I recommend always to have this process-centric approach. Work with templates. Yeah. If there's a chat, create a chat template. If there's an editor application that you want to build, create a document template. Create these things so that the end user has to think about as little things as possible. Even writing prompts should be as minimalized as possible, because writing the really good prompts for good use cases is not intuitive. That's where, of course, you can go there and teach everybody in your organization prompt engineering. But I can tell you that what people, when someone is being mandated to learn prompt engineering, they will get the basics, but they will not get there to the things for specialized use cases where they need to go. So have a bunch of or a couple of experts that help support and build these type of use cases so that others can use it just by templating it. We have built on these learnings that we had 43 different apps in the last years, and I would like to share a little bit of my learnings with you. For example, there is no one model to rule them all. In the beginning was maybe like that, but it's now not anymore. There is certain models that are good for a lot of different things, and this is a not exhaustive list that I have here. Gemini 2.5 Pro is very good at reasoning for long text. Perplexity is far superior in web search related tasks. Even if you have the ChatGPT with web search or ChatGPT deep research, in terms of quality, this is far inferior to what Perplexity is doing right now. It's incredible the amount of value that you get from that. If you have research use cases where you need to search information in the openly available net. Standalone tools and the models behind are different. So they use the same model but different orchestrations. And there is a lot of the value being generated actually from the orchestration and not from the model. Yeah. There are very rarely use cases where you actually need fine tuning. I say that because most of the people are trying to use fine tuning to get somewhat their knowledge base into the knowledge of the model. I always advocate against that, apart from very specific use cases. In most of these cases, think about retrieval augmented generation structures behind. Fine tuning is good in a very few select use cases, one of them being if you have a specific writing style that you would like a model to produce. If you are locking yourself into only vendor, then you have a dependency that will put you that. I always recommend with looking at all of these models out there. I know that comes with complexity, but it's my recommendation. Orchestration is much more critical than the model itself. So there's a lot of value to be gained by building complex, fine-tuned, and very specific orchestrations versus just swapping out the model. And these orchestrations should be multi-step. They should be a multi-model for some applications, specifically for specialized tasks. And don't forget, you are in an organization. Technology is often not the bottleneck in AI projects. There's data privacy, there's governance, there's politics behind that. That is mostly in terms of your timeline. These are the things that make more impact on the timeline than a certain technology not being ripe enough for a certain use case. And if you are one of these people who has an internal AI hub, that's what I call it, or how a company AI platform, however you want to call it, you are often flooded by internal requests for specialized apps and often you will see that you have just capacity issues. So often these AI hubs build either 20% solutions or over generalized solutions, but could create much more impact if they would have a larger enabling position. And that is basically my learnings. So now, if you are looking for help consulting for your internal AI hubs or other projects, you need soundboarding, feel free to get in touch and book a meeting with me. If you want to get a very specialized app built for you because you have a very specific use case, I do that together with my team from proof of concept and production to production. Feel also free to book a meeting with me if you want to talk about that. If you want to try out our software that I have briefly shown, also feel free to tell me and I will do some onboarding with you. If you want to learn more about AI strategy, frameworks, and how to pull that all together in a more organizational level, we have published a Udemy course, actually pretty cheap Udemy course. I think it's on sale right now. So if you're scanning this, I think you can get it for like $20 or so. Feel free to scan this. And if you want to connect to me via LinkedIn or via my email address, feel free to inquire.